your food's from, we can catch our own.
Start again. Today we're going to cover on how to replace that top bearing in the triple tree. The top bearing existing from the factory, if yours hasn't been done, is a straight-sided bearing that can't have any pressure applied to it to do any effect to hold the steering in one position at certain speeds. I guess what I'm referring to is the death wobble, which is kind of a misnomer. It's not that crazy. It's scary the first time it happens, but if you just keep your hands on the bars, you're going to be fine. It's just that it does it, and if you're not used to it. Unlike a lot of bikes, well, like any bike, you really shouldn't let go of the handlebars anyway. You should always have one hand on, but you'll see guys going down the road, cruise on, and both hands off the wheel, just sitting there, and that's fine. It doesn't mean our bike's any less or any more. A lot of bikes have some sort of death wobble on up to tank slap, which we've all seen videos of on YouTube before. This bearing is right here. Right here in this seat. And we got to get to it. And the bearing from the factory is straight-sided. Straight-sided bearing that's used on the wheel bearings. You can find the number on it on the tech page of the Excelsior Henderson site, Dan Hanlon's website. This is the number if you need it for the wheel bearings, but I believe it's the same one that's in the triple tree. I can't remember off the hand. So the trick to get away from death wobble is put a beveled bearing in there. It's like if it was been designed as such, it would have had a beveled bearing in the first place. That can snug up. Actually, not any more torque than what you're doing on the straight side bearing. If straight side bearing, you put too much torque on it, it'll break the cage and the BBs will fall out or the rollers will fall out. And it's a mess and it's grindy, and then you really got a problem because your handlebars will be loose and rattly and all that good stuff. So the fix is to put the beveled bearing in that seat, and you'll lose most 99% of the death wobble, if not all of it. At this point, I don't have any death wobble. I've heard of some guys still having a little bit of death wobble after replacing that bearing with the beveled bearing. The key that I learned the hard way is to make sure this plane of the triple tree plate is parallel. As you can see, mine is parallel with this dust cover. There's a nutted dust cover. I'll show you those parts on the blow up here in a second. If this is, when you're done and this is not level or parallel to each other, you'll still have a death wobble. And the reason I bring that up is a lot of our bikes have been gotten into from different sources and procedures over the years. There was other ideas in the early days, and I did one of those early processes. And because of it, I'm missing parts in there because that was part of the instructions of that process. And basically the process was to remove there's a real thin lock washer in there, lock nut, and instructions said so to chuck it. Get rid of it, and then you can actually get the death wobble out. And I actually did that, and it improved it tremendously. My bike's death wobble was coasting between 10 and 5 miles an hour, like coming up to a stop sign. And if you had your hands loose on the bars would start shimmying and shaking. Other people have blow up on this, so you know exactly what we're looking at. By the way, on my blow up, if anybody wants a CD of the blow up, just email me and I'll burn you one. It's real easy to burn, it's cheap, and I got a whole pile of CDs I'll be more than happy to get rid of that. I'll burn it and get it to you. So right here my death wobble is pretty much gone, or it is gone. I don't have any issues at all. This is a little bit tricky. You're going to have to get the bike off the ground. And I recommend if you're going to do this and this is your first time, I recommend you have some help because it is a little bit tricky. I got a floor hoist, so I'm lucky there. I have that to my advantage, and I secure the bike down really strong, especially with this one, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the weight out of this front fork, and the bike is going to be heavy for this job because it can be kind of tricky. I've done it by myself, and I've done it with two guys, and I can do it. I can do it by myself without a whole bunch of headaches. You're going to want to get your bike off the ground. Like I said earlier, I got a lift, so I got it off the ground. You're going to want a floor jack. As you can see, I got a floor jack under the tire. And you're going to want to lock that front brake, because what we're going to do is we're going to take this plate off, the handlebars off, and then the neck of these forks has got to come down far enough where you can pull that, get that bearing out of there, and then replace it with the beveled one. So this whole fork is going to drop down at least to this depth, and it's all going to come down out through here. And to lock the brake, you want to do that. Otherwise, if you don't, as you drop it down on the jack releases that pressure. Once the nut's off up here, that tire will roll and take off. And I'm slow-witted, and I found that out the hard way, and that's why sometimes I use two guys and sometimes I don't. Being I'm not in no hurry, I know I'll be fine today, and we'll be able to get this done. So bike's off the ground, floor jack. First thing we're going to do is take the handlebars off, and then I hang them up there off of that hook. I use vinyl coated wire. It's just some wire I got with vinyl coating on it, and I just hold everything up and out of the way. I want to show you something because you may not see it, and I found it, and it's the hard way, and it's kind of tough. If you can see right here on this blow up, there's a little bitty screw in the front of that triple tree plate, and what it does, it holds the brake line. It just keeps it from vibrating around, I suppose. I'm not real sure what it does, but if you don't take that out and you start stretching this out, when you start dropping the front fork out, it's going to stretch that brake line or kink it, one or the other. Now, last time when I did the beveled bearing on this, I just left that out because it's in a really tough place. It's real tight. Maybe I'm just not very limber and I can't do it. I don't know, but it doesn't hurt anything if that's missing. I've got that screw somewhere if I ever decide to put it back in. And let me show you exactly where that's at. Oh. Well, I can't until I take it apart, so I'll Don't forget to lock your front brake. Once I get everything loose, I'll pull this up a little more for some more clearance. But right now, this is just holding it as I loosen everything up. I've got a tool bag on here. Gotta get off. Get it out of my way. Full of my garbage. Oh no, it is broken. So I lift everything on these wires and I don't disassemble any of this. This is all going to come off with these caps off the top of the risers of the handlebars off the triple plate. So I'm going to go attack these next. I know a lot of folks don't have I'm not saying my shop is a professional shop by any means, but a lot of folks don't have a shop. And so I've got room, my shop's air conditioned, it's 91 degrees outside. So I'm doing really well, comfortable wise here. My point being is keep track of all your parts. So I lay a towel down so I don't lose nothing. And keep track of everything that way. Tell you what, you don't lock that front brake. It gets real exciting real fast when that front tire takes off and all the wires get stretched, brake lines. I got it locked back with a zip tie and it's not going to go anywhere. We're not near that point yet, but weather and age will kind of lock these caps on a little bit. I like to jar them around a little, get them loose. Okay, so they are. I'm going to take it up. Just clear everything a little bit more. That not work. I may have to readjust once I get the triple plate out of there. And I deal with this handlebar swinging back and forth. Next we got to do is get these risers out. Right there. If it's the first time out on your bike, be prepared. They're tough the first time. They're in there on orange Loctite, and they are tough. Being these have been off a couple times because I had an issue. So I got the riser bolts out. They're just kind of snug on there. And your next move is to you're going to find some rubber grommets. These I made, mine were so rotten from the weather, I made these. It's basically heater hose that I put around the sides of them. See, this is now a stud that goes down into here. And I took some heater hose. Factory had some grommets that were just all rotten. So you got to get them off so you can grab it with your nut, or your wrench, I should say. And there we are. We're ready to pull those studs out. My nephew is usually my helper, Devin. He's a great big guy. And he's constantly asking me when we work on our bikes, you want it tight like it's supposed to, or you want it Devon tight? And if I don't say something, he'll put it Devon tight. I think that's what this is. I had put that cheater on this zippy wrench. Like I said, these studs, these two studs coming up, whoop, they can be Bearcat. I would recommend first timers squirting some Croil down there, get that thing loosened up. Because the rust and moisture gets down there. That's what the grommets are for, to prevent that, but it still happens. My nephew is usually my helper, Devin. He's a great big guy. And he's constantly asking me when we work on our bikes, you want it tight like it's supposed to, or you want it Devon tight? And if I don't say something, he'll put it Devon tight. I think that's what this is. I had put that cheater on this zippy wrench. Like I said, these studs, these two studs coming up, whoop, they can be Bearcat. I would recommend first timers squirting some Croil down there, get that thing loosened up. Because the rust and moisture gets down there. That's what the grommets are for, to prevent that, but it still happens. And you're all noticing this is pretty close to the tank. And before I get to taking this acorn nut off here, I'll be putting a towel on my tank just to make sure nothing gets damaged or chipped. I've yet to chip my tank or anybody else is doing this. I don't know if I'm lucky. If you're really scared about it, remove your tank. It'll give you all kinds of. See, all this rust that gets down in there, and then it locks up the sides on that, and it makes it for a tough go that first time really bad. You can see some remnants of orange Loctite in there too also. And as you can see, this one's all full of rust too. If I'm really smart, and if I take the time, I'll hit the wire wheel to this and get that rust off of there. Make my life easier, that's for sure. But again, maybe I'll just put never sees on it. We'll see when I get that far. Alright, we're ready to take this nut off. That's that acorn nut right there. Gonna take that off, and then this plate, this whole triple tree plate will be loose. The net bearing, that bearing in there, though, it's still got a nut on it, so the forks aren't going to drop. All it's going to do is loosen this up so you can move it around. Okay, this nut is 1.25 inches. And a little trick I do to save the chrome, everybody's worried about the chrome. I don't like my chrome all beat up. So I'll run a lap of tape around it. That'll keep from burning up the ends. not, this nut does nothing for that bearing. This nut only holds that triple plate down. That's all that nut does. And it look pretty. It does that too. So you can tighten that down all you want. It's not gonna take the death wobble out. I promise you. I heard of guys doing that, and they said they still had death wobble, and they thought they fixed it. That long of a story. All right, underneath that nut is a washer. Don't forget about it. It's a pretty chrome stainless steel one. And now we got the shaft exposed. That's this shaft that goes all the way through to these forks down here. And the trick here is to get this to lift up, this triple tree plate. As you can see, it's pretty loose. And flip it up out of the way so we can get to the next nut. There you go. Now everything's loose between the shocks and the rigid fork. Everything's loose. See that? So be careful. You got to pay attention to what you're doing. All right. Be careful what you're doing and don't let it scare you. And I still have, I think I put, so this is the nut I was told initially. Sorry, I get confused because I've worked over too many bikes for the last 20 plus years. Well, 23 years now they've been making these bikes, and I can't remember which is which anymore. The initial time I did this or worked on this bike was just to tighten this here up, and I was told in the instructions from another source that's no longer in the community to take a file and take the threads out of it, which I did. And then what it does is it actually spaces this surface with this to keep it parallel, and it works good. Now because it's loose. My jack is holding everything. So this is the nut. It's got that dust cover on it. It's punched in, it's not welded in, and it's punched into this dust cover right here. Okay, this wrench that'll get this nut that holds this neck in there is 1.25 inches. Sorry, I'm always sitting down, my back's hurt. So, I just gotta loosen that up. The brake's locked. I loosen this up, this front fork is not gonna move because the brake's locked, and the jack down here below is holding that front tire with the brake locked. When you torque this, it's 20, around 27 pounds. This is one part you can actually torque off of the torque sheet, and you don't have to worry about stripping it out. I think Jamie told me I could probably go up to 28 pounds. So it's not much. I better show something just in case you're not familiar with the area. If you notice, this nut is on its own separate thread. So these top threads, and then it's necked to this nut. So you're going to have different threads. Once I get above these threads, then this will just pop right off of there. And here it is. This is that dust cover. That this was supposed to be permanent and never taken it apart. I greased it just to make sure, even though it's a sealed bearing. But this is not welded on there. This is pressed, and they do come apart sometimes. I've had that happen. Maybe nobody else ever had that problem, but I have. And when it did, we couldn't get these two surfaces, this plate and the top of the neck, parallel. It just would not sit right. So there's your bearing. Right there, it's sealed bearing. I'm not going to take that bearing out, but that's where it's at. And so if I was going to replace it, I would drop this as far as I could, and then I take a rod, a threaded rod actually, and it would be this rod, because I know this because I've used it for this. I don't drop the neck completely out, this shaft out of the neck completely out, which I'm supposed you should, but I don't. I drop it far enough where I can get my rod up in there like this, just like this. And then I hit on this end with a hammer and it'll knock that bearing right out. And that's how I do it. The other bearing is going to come out with the shaft. Normally, it's I've seen it off of there many times, and that's normally what happens. But I'll get enough room in there. I'll drop the shaft down to about here. I'm going to show you dropping the shaft. But you don't got a lot of slack here. You got wires, you got cables, all kinds of stuff. They're going to kind of try and move with this. Don't forget that brake line bolt, which is right here on the face of this piece here. As the picture shows, that is that one right there, and that's on your brake line. And if you don't take that out, you're gonna wish you would have, because it's gonna stretch the brake line or whatever, and it's in a really tough place. And that's why I don't got mine in, because it's just in a tough place to do it all. It doesn't hurt anything that it's not hooked up, and I suppose it vibrates around a little bit, but it really doesn't hurt anything. So I'm going to show you dropping this shaft to do this, how that works. Or dropping the forks with my floor jack. Like I said, I'm not going to pull my bearing. There's no reason to do that. You can see the bearing, so you know exactly what you're looking at. And we're just going to drop it down out of there. I wish I would have the jack on this side. Maybe I can, so I can film at the same time. I'm going to swing it around, see what happens here. I'm going to switch it around. So it kind of got loose up there, and I didn't even move my jack down at all. And the shaft dropped down. You can see the bearing, the shaft dropped down. Down here, here's the bottom bearing. Oh, that's interesting. It is beveled. I couldn't remember. So the race inside of here is also to that, matches that curve, that same kind of curve. That's dropped quite a ways. I could probably sneak my shaft up in there. In fact, maybe not. How tight's everything? Oh, that one's getting tight. Yeah, I can get my shaft in there, that threaded shaft to beat that bearing out. So, in theory, for you, I know I could do it. That's enough room for this shaft to get up in there to knock that top bearing out. I think that bearing will pop out of there by hand. No. That bearing is pressed in there, and that's no big deal. All you have to do when you're putting your bearing, after you get your bearing popped out from below with the shaft, if you got to disconnect everything, see I got everything pretty loose here yet. You got to take it all the way out, disconnect all your wires and all that. And if you do that, you're going to have to pull your tank. That's fine. Pop that out with a shaft, and then press it back in. You're going to take a soft hammer and just tap her in there, get all this stuff out of your way, and just pop it back in there. And that's pretty much it. As you can see, there's room enough in there for a torque wrench and a socket, so you can torque it down. Like I said, it's I think 26 or 28 pounds. Don't go any more than that. You don't want to crush the cage on these bearings, and then you'll have big problems. That's good enough. You get to 26, 27 pounds, that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and video reassembly. I'm not going to go any further than this because, like I said, I have no reason to pull that bearing out. And I'm by myself. If Devin was here, I'd feel a little more secure. No big deal. So I'll show reassembly and put that all back together. And that's pretty much it. Silicone lubricant, not silicone caulking. And you're going to notice these are triangular shaped. From the factory, I don't know if the fat part's supposed to be pointed at the driver or the skinny part. These on the bars are pointing away from me, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them back. I'm sure if you looked up on the parts thing, it'd probably show you which way they're supposed to be. We all learned the hard way in the old days. Note, this is your grippers in here. It's supposed to grip the bar when you smash them down. They're pretty fine, and they're not very, they're not well defined. They're very vague looking, actually. The only reason I'm showing you that is because when we first got into Excelsior Hendersons, guys were tying their ratchet straps on trailers, pickups, or on their rack or whatever they're working on, and tying to the bars. And then the next thing they knew, by the time they got wherever they're going or got done doing whatever they were doing, the bars were stripped. Don't tie off on these, on your handlebars. These are the drag bars off of deadwood. And the regular beach bars that come with the bike, you don't want to do that. Just because these guys are not defined enough to really bite the bars hard. They're good to hold it in there and everything, but if you put some other kind of weight on it or force on there, they're going to strip right out. Every time I get around the bike to do another episode, I get more ideas of stuff that new owners should know about. So I hope I'm getting to the right people. Some of my stuff has had a lot of views, amazingly. And other things, it's like, it just doesn't happen. I don't know what that's about. That don't matter. I'm still going to do it. Just like today. Thought 3 more videos. Just being around with this long, I just forget about stuff. You think it's just common, but they aren't. You're going to find if you get involved with the bike and you've got any experience on any other bikes, they're not like anybody else, that's for sure. Unfortunately, there's guys that think that you can take your Excelsior Henderson to any shop you want. They're going to work on it. The smart shops will say no. Because I've worked on at least one bike that came out of a shop not a certified Excelsior Henderson mechanic. I am not a certified Excelsior Henderson mechanic. But trial and error, I've worked on a lot of them. Anyway, the smart shop will say no. Because the ones that say that, yeah, we can do that, struggle with them, and a lot of them, not all of them, there's good mechanics out there, don't take this wrong. There's really some great mechanics out there. But there's also a lot of mechanics that have no clue what Excelsior Henderson is, let alone seeing the insides of them. So I'd be very, very cautious about going to a shop. Just so happens our local Harley dealer here has a certified Excelsior Henderson mechanic. He went to school for it and everything. He's an older guy. I don't know if he's still there. He was older than I was. Or am. He may be gone now. Harley mechanics in there, you know, there's Harley mechanics out there that have been around Excelsiors or seen them. That's all they know about them. They think they're going to be just like working on a Harley motor, but they're not. Alright. And yes, I will patch this wire. That's really sad that that happened. I'll probably have to get some scissors out, nibble on it and stuff. Once I get it off of there, I'm going to obviously clean this thing because it's got smudge marks all over it. One of these times I'll have my shop and the bike clean. At the same time. My shop's not too bad right now. It's been kind of trying to get some stuff done. I had back surgery in May. That was a success, and now I got a new back issue that showed up. They don't know what's going to work and what isn't. And it's really been limiting my time in doing certain things. To be honest, it took me a lot of courage to come out here in the shop today. I wasn't sure if I could do it, but I did. And it wasn't that bad. I had plenty of time to sit down, and sitting down is what helps. So there you go. I'll, like I said, I'll post some part numbers, those bearings, the correct one that should be in there and the ones that have been in there. So you know what to get. You can get it from McMaster-Carr or just go on eBay and grab, they're all the same number. Or grab one off eBay, or even Amazon sometimes has bearings. Like I said, this isn't a full drive bearing that's running 100 mile an hour by any means of the word. It just sits there. This is all it does. Well, ain't that nice? Remember how I said to get never sees all over everything? Down on my grip. What do I say? I don't think I got it on my face. Do my brake handle. I'll be back out here tomorrow, patch that wire, wash my bike, because I've disgusted myself looking at all these filthy parts of it. I hope I helped you out. Oh yeah, I got to order a bag from somebody. I suppose I'll try Amazon, see if they got any tool bag, motorcycle tool bags. And that should do it. Thanks for watching. Leave comments, please. I don't get enough comments or questions because this stuff is not enough detail. I'm not an instructor by any means of the word. So things get left out or skipped over, or I think of after I edit and post on YouTube. And I'll be more than happy to correct those issues or talk about them or whatever. If you're going to tell me to do it another way, I'll